Glad to see all of you. Whoa! Hi, everybody!
You know when you say that you're gonna do something like, oh, this will be quick to come out, and then it doesn't, because all of a sudden you have a bunch of things happen all at once. You know, I'm sure nobody's ever had that. So yeah, obviously I have not recorded anything in a while. Mainly because I had a bunch of IRL stuff showing up kind of all at once, and I've had to adjust to that. That's mainly what it is. Like my real job, I work that, so I kind of had to adjust to some things in that, get back into the groove of that, among the other things I do. So that's why things have been really slow. I do have the Aeon Flux, the second video. I have it recorded. To borrow a meme, it's in the render queue, but I say that, but I still have to edit it. But I do have it all recorded. I have it all written. I just got to get the clips for it, and it should be out at some point. I'm just telling you, at some point. Who knows? Maybe next year. Who knows? That's just how it is when you're a one-man operation. So that's kind of where I am right now with that. But of course I'm trying to do downtime from everything else I have to do. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, this isn't a review or anything, but it's just my thoughts about this documentary that just came out called I Love You, You Hate Me. And what it is, it's a documentary discussing the utter hatred for the character and the show of Barney the dinosaur. You know, the show is called Barney and Friends, the character Barney the dinosaur. And I was shocked to learn, actually, that, like, the show has been off the air for 12 years. Like, you know, it's not like, oh, they made an announcement that it's ending. No, it just stopped, you know? I mean, but it's like one of those things you just don't even recognize that it's gone until, like, just one day you're like, oh, shit, you know? Like, you don't see toys or promotions or, like, anything. I'm sure you can find, like, a DVD at Walmart, but, like, there has not been, apparently there really hasn't been, like, a production in, like, at least a decade, which is crazy. For reference, I was born in 1992. But yeah, I was born in 1992, August 1992. And it is crazy that, you know, so considering I was in 1992, Barney was pretty much there a lot, you know. It was up there with, my main show that I watched as a little kid, and I still keep up with it. I'm not gonna lie, is Thomas the Tank Engine. But there was also Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, all that. So they were all pretty close together. Like, I think of PBS, that's what I think of. You know, we had tapes and all this and that. You know, my mom loved watching it, you know, and I would watch with my older brother. And I mean, you know, you grow out eventually. It happens. And, you know, but here's the thing. So, but just so you know, it was a juggernaut. Like, Barney was, like, everywhere. You know? The songs were everywhere. It was a big deal for a long time. And, like, and just to kind of not realize, it kind of crept on you that he's just been gone for almost a decade. And so I watched the trailer, which again is detailing the hatred. Because I remember, you know, I didn't really participate in it. Like, I'm sure I made a dumb joke or something here or there. Maybe I did like an edgy thing. But, like, there was unabashed hatred for this character. And it is insane what they highlight in this documentary. The lengths that... Now, speaking of the documentary, I have a slight criticism in that, like, sometimes it's a little too inflammatory. Like, I think there's a difference between telling a joke and being hateful towards something that you hate it. Like, for example, at one point, it's a quick thing, but they show a Resident Evil mod, RE8 mod, that involves, like, turning the enemies into Barney the Dinosaur. Considering that game just came out very recently, that was probably more of a joke, I would imagine, because there's the Skyrim mod that turns the dragons into Thomas the Tank Engine characters. I didn't feel that was like an attack on Thomas the Tank Engine. I felt that was like, oh, that's them just doing a joke. You know, it's a joke. But like, there were people that like legit hated him, and I want to highlight like two of them that really stuck out, because I don't want to spoil the documentary. Because Steve Burns, who was in Blue's Clues, you know, he's Steve. Man, the ending with him is great. But here's the two people. One was a guy who, it was a college thing. They had like this big event they got a bunch of plushes and toys and a whole bunch of college kids, and they just destroyed the ever-loving shit out of them. Like, they took axes, they took hammers, they took, like, everything to them. You know, scrawled all over these coloring books, like, writing profane things. Now, of course, you could also say, like, you know, this is dumb college kids doing dumb college shit. You know, speaking as somebody who did dumb college shit. But if I remember, they talked to, like, the guy who organized the event, right? And he said something very interesting. In that, like, he felt at the time Barney the Dinosaur was so big on PBS, and he had grown up with characters like Big Bird, right, from Sesame Street, and that Barney was somehow usurping Big Bird because, you know, kids like Barney, you know. So this guy felt that Barney was attacking his childhood in a way. That, like, kids wouldn't like Big Bird, they'd rather like Barney. Like, and so much so that, like, they show a clip of, like, one of the guys is dressed as Big Bird, the other one dressed as Barney, and it's, like, Big Bird beating the shit out of Barney. And I find that fascinating. That this guy who's in college, you'd think, oh, you know, he's off in college, he's just doing his thing. But he felt attacked by a character who didn't do anything, you know? Barney, if you don't know, for whatever reason, he's just a purple dinosaur brought to life through these kids' imaginations, and they sing songs, and they do stuff, you know? And I found that, like, kids can like multiple things. Just because, like, ooh, they really like Barney doesn't mean that they can't like Big Bird, you know? But I think that kind of plays into the psychology of the hatred. And that this guy's in college now, and Barney was new at that point. Like, mainly, a lot of this hate stemmed mainly from, like, 1992 when the show hit PBS. Because if you don't know, Barney started off as a series of tapes exclusively. I think, like, 8 tapes, if I'm not mistaken. But and then it was picked up by PBS. So once it hit on to PBS, it became like a mainstream thing. And this guy felt like it was attacking, you know, him. And it's funny because, like, he's in college at this point. And, you know, you literally and figuratively change as a person. Like, you literally, as a person, change. Like, your cells, your anatomy, everything. And, like, this guy really, realistically should not have cared. And I'm not saying, like, he still carries the grudge. It's clear that he doesn't anymore. Who does? But, it was just an interesting snapshot of, like, this guy organized this whole party to bash this character he didn't like. And I'm not naming names, just Just because, one, I can't remember, and two, these people are like in their 40s and 50s and 60s now, so it really doesn't matter. The other guy, which was interesting, was a father at the time. I think I was about to say his last name, but I just remembered what I just said. But he was a father back in the 90s. He got his daughter a whole bunch of tapes, and he would come home from work, and she used to, like, greet him at the door, but, like, now Barney's here, and she's just glued to watching Barney. So, doing the most adult thing possible, he decides to set up, like, this newsletter for parents that don't like Barney to get their kids off of Barney the dinosaur. You would send, like, 50 cents to the guy, and then get, like, a little newsletter or something. And, like, that already seems kind of petty. Again, it's like people feel like Barney the dinosaur has attacked them. That it struck them, And that's what I find most interesting about the documentary, is that I wish it focused on it more, because, like, if you don't know, it's broken up into 2 episodes. The first episode kind of sets everything up. The second episode focuses on, like, a completely different thing. The woman who created Barney the dinosaur, her son was involved in, like, a horrible criminal incident, and that maybe, like, his mental issues spawned from Barney the dinosaur somehow in a tangential way. But the documentary mainly focuses on the fact that this character, Barney, he's not a broken character, and Steve Burns highlights that. For example, if you watch Big Bird is 6 years old. He acts like a 6-year-old. He's happy. He'll sing. He likes things, but he also gets mad. He has flaws. Same with Grover. Grover doesn't really get mad, but he's a flawed character. He messes things up. He's not always, like, on the ball. People yell at him, that sort of thing. Barney doesn't do that. Barney is a very jolly character. He's the perfect friend. And people see that as, this character has something to hide, which I think is very human. I think we can all agree that if somebody tries to present themselves all the time as a great person, they have a lot of fucked up shit going on. They have a lot of fucked up shit. And I think that's, like, an evolutionary thing, probably. As a species, we had to kind of recognize if somebody's deceiving us, and if somebody's happy all the time and trying to pretend everything's great, we pick up on that as, like, hang on, something's not right here. But of course, he's this, and that's fine if you need to survive out in the wild, but, like, this is a character on a PBS children's show, why do you need to attack? It's like attacking Fred Rogers. I remember there was, like, a clip of like Fox or something, and I can't remember what era exactly. I just remember it was, like, Fox News, and they were attacking, Mr. Rogers for saying that self-esteem would create, like, a generation of narcissists who only enjoy themselves, which is literally, like, almost every generation. I don't want to get into the debate specifically, but, like, every generation is a generation of narcissists to a degree, But, like, they touch on things like, he promoted caring, in the, like, early 90s, and again, I kind of have to criticize the documentary here a little bit. It's like, it's trying to say, like, only broken people didn't hate him, and they do show that a little bit. There's a lot of conflation kind of going on here with some of the people they talk to, but I mean, that's them. That's not, I don't know. Again, there's just some conflation about, like, why people wouldn't like it, when I really think it's just, like, people saw this saccharine character, they saw that kids really liked it, they saw that it was an attack. I want to go back to the dad here because, as it turns out, spoiler, the dad that started the society of breaking Barney addicts was an alcoholic, and he had a lot of fucked up issues, and I don't want to speculate about who he is as a person. I don't know him, but he said so himself that like all the steps of breaking an addict was stuff that he needed to do. So he was attacking Barney, but really it was a way to like attack himself in the same way. Barney became the scapegoat, which is interesting because we always have to have a scapegoat. And the craziest thing to think about is that I remember I saw the trailer on Twitter, right? And I saw a bunch of comments underneath, like, people were genuinely surprised that people would hate this character. And all I could think of is, like, those that forget the past are doomed to repeat it. Because, I mean, think about it now. How many times do we hear a show just getting attacked? From anybody, For anything. The big one I think of is, like, Steven Universe. Writing quality aside, whatever you think, it's a cartoon on Cartoon Network. There was vitriol spewed against that show. And Barney is even crazier, because it's like, that's just a PBS show meant to just encourage you to use your imagination and to like each other. And yet, like, people legitimately hated this fucking character. And again, not just jokes, just like legitimately hated them. And it's just weird that we've repeated that. I've done it. You've done it. Everybody's done it. If you say you've never done it, you're a liar. To kind of give an anecdote here real quick. Of course, I was a child of the 90s. There was Pokemon. Adults hated it. Banned out of school. That whole spiel, right? And I find it crazy that people my age, they'll have kids, and they'll start, like, attacking something like Fortnite. And it's like, put aside, like, Epic Games and all that. But, like, I've seen people attack it just because they, like, kids play it exclusively. And I remember doing that a little bit. But then I, like, stepped back, and I was like, hang on. Wait a minute. Hold on. I sound a lot like the people who were bashing Pokemon. They didn't understand Pokemon the way I did. Maybe the people playing Fortnite understand something that I don't. So maybe I can just leave it. I don't have to bash it. I don't have to prove something. Just step away from it, It's really that's the interesting part of the documentary. It's not the documentary is about why did people hate Barney the dinosaur. It's about why we hate something at all. Like, why they say a culture, but I say it's more like a species. We find something that we have to attack. We have to find the scapegoat. No matter what. It could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be a purple dinosaur, And it doesn't even have to do anything wrong. It just has to exist. I adjusted my mic. It just has to kind of exist. And people feel the need to attack it. It's an instinct thing. Of course there's Barney the dinosaur is pretty, tame because, Barney's not real, literally and figuratively not real. But, it kind of, the documentary touches on things that, hating a purple dinosaur is one thing, but then, like, people hate other kinds of people for just existing. Not even that they did anything to them, just that they exist. And that's the interesting thought-provoking part to me. Is that this character existed, and now he's gone, Who even remembers? The people on the Twitter thread saying, like, people really hated this character, yeah. And yet, here we are. It's current year. And who remembers all that hatred for nothing? Or they move on to something else. Isn't that weird? I don't know. Again, this is more of a ramble than anything else. This is not like a coherently thought thing. I definitely suggest you check out the documentary. I find it fascinating. I actually checked out, when I saw the trailer, I was looking it up on YouTube, and I actually saw some, like, legit adult Barney fans. Like, legit adult Barney the Dinosaur fans. And I could speak to that as somebody who's an adult and really likes Thomas the Tank Engine. Not like I'm collecting, toys or anything. But, and they speak in the documentary about, like, having to hide it. I don't blame them. You have to hide that you enjoyed something as a child. Isn't that kind of fucked up? That you have to hide something? That doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. Like, yeah, if you're like obsessed with it to like an unhealthy degree, that's kind of fucked up. But like, if you're a functioning human being, who gives a shit? You're not hurting anybody. So what if you like a children's character? I remember somebody said, like, you say like liking Thomas the Tank Engine is weird, and yet you also like Pokemon. Like, what's really the difference here? They're both for children, And that's the interesting part to me. And the documentary makes it clear. You don't have to like the guy. But, do you really have to hate him? You don't have to like something. But do you have to hate it? I hope this came across clearly. I took off my glasses so I didn't have them fogging up the entire time. But yeah. So again, I highly suggest checking it out. The adult Barney fans are actually pretty decent. I'll link both of them. One of them is in the documentary. I think his name is like BarneyBuilder or something like that. He does like really neat like projects, like building projects. You can actually still see some of the crew that worked on it, like namely Bob West, I guess, has a YouTube channel, and I listened to like a live stream he did, and he's just a chill guy, it's just, I think that's the heart of the documentary, and I know I've probably said it, but it's just like, you don't have to like something, but do you have to hate it? Just let it be. Relax. Go do your own thing. And I do think that's something that, we kind of have to relearn, It's something we forget, but then we need to relearn, And I know that you can't do that to a group, but you can do it on an individual basis. So, man, this got hard. So yeah, there you go. I hope to have more things out in the future. But there you go. All right. Have a good one. Later.
Oh, that's so nice. And before we go, there's one very important thing that I want you to remember. I love you.